speaking to this generation, you are speaking to a postmodern world. A lot of people in the church are very negative about postmodernism. Is it inherently evil?
Postmodernism is a mood much more than it is a kind of an organized movement. Postmodernism was at the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve said, "Has God really said?" What did postmodernism do? It questioned propositional truth. Does a statement really mean what it says, or do you fuse your own meaning into any statement? So postmodernism questioned verbal authority. That's where it all began. You don't leave the authority with the author, the authority goes to the reader. So you can read a book and you become sovereign over the author. Postmodernism is a mixed bag. There are some very dangerous elements to it where absolute truth became conditioned and relativism took hold, but you really don't want a relativist in the lab. You don't want a relativist for a pilot. You know, you don't want to say, I know that's what the tower is saying, and I know this what the instruments are saying, but I'm going to fuse my own meaning into these readings. So life cannot be lived on the postmodern cutting edge. One thing postmodernism has done, which is constructive, it has a hunger for community. And that's where I think the church should rise.
Well, when you're talking about absolutes, the Bible is a very absolute kind of book. Mm-hmm. How do you communicate, Christian absolutes to a culture that kind of resists that idea?
And what happened when Adam and Eve were challenged with God's laws? The interesting thing is this: there was only one prohibition, only one. In the day that you eat of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, you shall surely die. And we were told not to eat of that, because in the day we would eat of that, we would be as God, knowing good and evil. What it really meant was we would redefine good and evil. You and I don't have the right to do that. The moment you and I redefine good and evil and we come up with two different definitions, whose good is going to trump the other person's good? That's exactly what has happened in our culture today. We make decisions ad hoc, whether it's on taxes, whether we cheat or not, whether it's on marriages, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in the job or whatever, and we go through different arenas, Cheryl, every day, each with its different ethos. And the collapse of our culture today symptomatically is in economics, but actually is in morality. That's where it all began. I said to a New York Times person who was interviewing me, I said, why are we all so shocked? We taught them in our Ivy League schools that ethics is all relative. And then when they became the head of Enron and acted as relativists, we put them in jail. What has happened? Money has no point of reference anymore. People borrowed without the ability to repay. In my wallet, I carry a $100 million bill. It's an authentic bill, but it's from Zimbabwe, where there is nothing worth anything.
I was going to say, wow, hand over your wallet.
Exactly, exactly. This is the point. But what's it worth?